It has been some time now, and to say that is a massive, massive understatement. It's been like a couple years, I think, and I wanted to put this up because I don't know when the next time I will be posting anything will be either. So, but I wanted to put something here as a sort of touch point in time, um, and just for a special moment in history, because all of my efforts for the past couple of years have gone towards one thing, and that thing is Resurrection: A Biohazard Story, which is a completely unofficial, completely not-for-profit film that we have made with several of our collaborators in the community, and we have reunited so many legacy cast of Resident Evil, voice cast, live action cast, like you name it. Like the four OGs from the first game, Charlie, Greg, Linda, Eric, those are in this, and they are essentially at the center. We also have Annie, who is taking on the part of Jill. She did incredible work on this. And another newcomer, another new star. Speaking of incredible work, we have Cody. Cody is playing one of my original characters. His name is Private Matthew Vaughn. And this is something that has been brewing since well before 2023, but 2023 was the year when Andrew, I think we were dropping off Charlie after we had recorded a video with him for Row Network, out of the many that we've done, because Andrew's done a wonderful job, very daring as he is, to essentially have these actors re-enter the community, reinvigorate interest in this legacy sort of gathering of talent, that is the OG4 and more, as well as Joe White and some others, and Pablo Coons. Andrew built all of those connections. He paved the way for this to be truly special by having so much of the original flavor of Resident Evil and Resident Evil talent be a part of this project. And in 2023 was when we were sitting down. We had dinner after filming this thing with Charlie, and he's like, we have this kind of project brewing, very, very early kind of embryonic stages for this project, is just being conceived, really. And he was like, we might have you be the writer, we might ask you to be the writer. And, as you could imagine, I would never say no to an opportunity like that. I would never take it any kind of lightly, and I would use it to absolutely maximize on everything that I personally would want to see in a Resident Evil story. And from then on, late in 2023, we had some sit downs, some strategy sessions with Andrew. Andy was there for a couple of them as well, early kind of outlining, brainstorming where this could go. Again, truly momentous, special opportunity. I've said this in the funding campaign, I've said this in interviews, I've said this in many places, but I'll say it again. I could have lived multiple lifetimes if that's what happens, and people just kind of enter a new lifetime after they die and still never have gotten a chance to express what I wanted to, what I needed to in this way, at this scope, with all of these original actors, illustrating this massive image of like a new story, a new scenario that we want to bring into the flesh. We want to actualize with film, be something beyond the page. So it's incredibly fortunate, and it's frankly pushed me past my limits and past my breaking points at various points, during pre-production, production, post-production. It's just been incredibly demanding. It's been more demanding than any project that most of us have taken on. That's true for Andrew. Like he's told me that. It's definitely the largest thing he's taken on as well. For myself too, I'm not from the realm of film. I didn't study this, didn't do anything, but if there's an opportunity like that and it involves writing, it's just, hey, it's another form of writing. I love writing. So I figured it would be appropriate. And I studied it very, very intensively, the craft of screenwriting, because I like writing short stories and I like writing essays, little blurbs, mostly just original short stories, but then also on YouTube, like more derivative stuff, basically like this game comes out, here's my thoughts on the novel of the game or the S.D. Perry novels, that kind of thing, do an essay on that. But this was a chance to create something large and original and truly ambitious. Like as a fan film, as an indie project, this is like one of the biggest things I've ever seen get developed to this scale. It's a pretty large scale here for folks that had just created The Keeper's Diary. Andrew made The Keeper's Diary before with Andy Cox. Andy is a producer of Biohazard Classified. They did wonderful work. And this is like 5 times, it's like quintuple the scale, the scope of that project. And in terms of the depth of storytelling, in terms of the budget, in terms of just overall size, every kind of way you could measure it, every like metric that you could use to measure this thing, the size of this thing, it was like 5 times bigger. And that was just intimidating to all of us, right? So when we sat down in late 2023, we're kind of like thinking where it should go. Andrew had a loose concept, like a very loose concept. Like he always knew he wanted to do something like kind of 4 episodes long. And initially it was going to be like smaller. He was thinking like maybe like 10 to 15 minutes each. And, that's looking at a series that's maybe like 45 to 60 minutes in length at like maximum. This thing has grown to like 75 minutes. I kept trying to, because I like to be elaborate in a telling of a story like this, especially as momentous and rare of an occasion that it was. I tried to keep making it larger, and we had to essentially adapt to that, make it fit with our goals and our ambitions and what we could fund and what we could realistically have people take time off for. So all of that was kind of part of it as well. But yes, when we sat down to think of those ideas, we had his loose concept of the 4 episodes before it got even larger. And it is still 4 episodes, it's just the scope of what we were kind of initially imagining had kind of exploded into something very rich with depth and a nice rich variety of locations to tell the story at this scale. A lot of indie projects, you'll see they'll have like maybe 2, 3, 4 locations. A lot of them just have 1 location, right? This thing has like 9, 10 locations. They're very unique, and they just add tremendously to the depth of immersion and realism in this world that we're inviting you into, that we would like you to inhabit. So it's amazing how that all started in early 2023. So after that, we kind of were trying to create larger outlines. So I was writing more detailed outlines for each of the 4 episodes, and I had Andy and Andrew look at them. And then Andrew would be the one that would like continually, like many meetings later, we would like kind of get through all of the outlines as well as my first script. So after the outlines were finished for the 4 episodes, I would begin writing in December of 2023, finish that first draft in early March of 2024. And then from there, that was sort of like any first draft, it's kind of like, in a way, the most idealistic version of like how a story can play out on screen. But also like any first draft, you're kind of operating with the overhead cost of mental capacity of just like, hey, I need this to be on the paper for the first time before I could really, really refine it. So it was kind of rough around the edges. All of the same core ideas as the final draft were still in the first draft. But a lot of them have been massively refined and nicely kind of better incorporated with the world, and the characters have things going on that better sort of are better interwoven with one another. We could say it like that. And yeah, and then it became many rewrites additionally after that to keep kind of improving things. And that is when things started to get larger and larger in terms of the scope of the story. The initial scripts were this many pages, it would grow to this many, it would eventually, like when separating it, sometimes when you format something for a shooting script, you have every next scene starting on the next page. Even if you don't use the entire page, you're like, hey, it's the next scene, okay, leave the rest of the page blank, go start the next page. When we would do that, this would become like 115, 120 page script. That's the one that we were looking at in September of 2024. And during that time, we were getting more pre-production pieces together. We're getting more of them in order, seeing the availability of all of these actors, the OGs, all of the new folks that we were looking to cast, which a lot of the casting for my original characters and the siding characters didn't get finalized until just before we began the funding campaign. And that funding campaign was in May of 2025 to June. So it was May and June, 2 months. And then the month before, April, was very, very busy with casting more of the side roles, really kind of beefing up the campaign, making it something nice. Andy wrote the campaign initially, and then I added a lot to it that I think would help to sort of convey the context around the significance of a 30th anniversary film as large as this one, and why we're asking for so much. We're asking for everything that we are, and it kind of creates a different person out of you, because I had such wonderful trying, and at times like even like debilitating experiences through writing and producing through pre-production, and that was from December of 2023 to all the way up until April of 2025. And then pre-production would continue through funding until August of 2025, which is when the film was shot in Utah. So very long cycle. And there was a lot of gauging, like, how can we maximize the money that we are allocating to make a certain scene what it is, while also, not cutting corners and not skimping unnecessarily. How do we make this count? And how do we make these scenes really powerful and evocative? That's the biggest thing. Like, how evocative can we make the imagery and the actors' performances? A lot of rehearsals going down, a lot of rehearsals being scheduled, especially in 2025, the months leading up to filming. That is when we schedule the most rehearsal sessions with Cody, Annie, all of the 4 OGs, Greg, Charlie, Eric, Linda, Joe. Joe did wonderful in this film, and he put a lot of time into the sort of rehearsals for his piece, for his character, Major Lance Gorsow, another original character. So there's a lot leading up there, and that's just kind of like the writing and casting sides at the beginning and end of the production cycle in like late 2023 and like mid to late 2025. And that's how writing was. With writing, I could talk a little bit about kind of where that started. Someone asked me in the Q&A, Moises Tovar, he played the crazed man character in Resurrection of Biohazard Story. Wonderful performance. We went back and forth with him as well on his tapes. Like, could you just this a little bit? Could you maybe express a little bit more of this and then cut down on something else? And he really refined it to a point that we loved. We absolutely wanted it the way that he had performed it in the final cut. And he had asked a question like, what were your first thoughts when essentially being tasked with writing this or asked to write this? And I give a little bit of an answer there. I wanted to put this video specifically up on the Beggy Beg Beg channel as kind of like a time capsule of like, if I don't upload much more to this channel, which I might not be, at least this thing is just like sitting there as like, it helps to preserve a little bit of what was going on in the couple of years. Everything being oriented towards one goal, one very like high, difficult, ambitious goal, ambitious to fund, ambitious to get everyone together, ambitious to produce. But yeah, when I was kind of thinking about writing it and like where my head went to was I had been studying a lot about the about Oedipus Rex, which is one of the great stage plays of Sophocles. And I've been thinking a lot about sort of father-son conflict, father-son hostility and competition. And that would also come out in some of the books that I was reading. A book named called Basic Freud by Michael Kahn was one of the kind of influences for resurrection among many, many others. But that one in particular talks about that kind of relationship between father and son and how it can really intensify and escalate into this hostile, competitive strife between one version of a person and like a younger version of him. And that has kind of formed the basis of Chris and Private Vaughn in Resurrection and that kind of hostility, resolving that strife and kind of making amends for bridges that were seemingly irreparably burned away could be apparently built again, you know, like maybe that is possible. And that is, this story is essentially like a very deep kind of like a biologically infused exploration of that concept of like, can someone be so entrenched in their own scorn and discontempt of a person, have their suspicion and mistrust of a whole group of people, the BCI in this case, be turned up to 11 and then still find a way for that compassion and that love to seep through in the end. And with this, you know, spoiler here if you haven't watched the film, I'll just pause for a moment. Spoiler, the unfavorable mutation that befalls the townsfolk in this, it accelerates in correlation with the production of oxytocin in the human host. And that is the hormone correlated with love, trust, social attachment, compassion, those kinds of things. And so essentially the unfavorable mutation there is suggesting that attachment is a sickness. Love is a sickness. It is a sickness that you do not want to catch, at least not for Chris, right? Not for the BCI. And he's, you know, for one, that's the whole setup and the whole reversal of the protagonist of the climax of like, can't say it's sparing me sympathy. Here you are, the feelings and the love spilling out, just bleeding out of you in this moment. There is his little reversal. So, and so that is kind of like one of the big books that influenced this. The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk was a big influence in this because it's a huge sort of very immaculate, intelligent, creative book that delves into sort of how the mind can tell all sorts of lies and avoid and dodge and evade things and block them off and kind of distance itself, but the body cannot. It's kind of like a limitation of the body. The body can only do it so long as the mind will insist that the body should, but there is a limit, you know, there's a breaking limit, there's a breaking point, and what is stored in the body from old wounds, from repeated terrors and horrific sort of stimuli that Chris and Jill are exposed to, will leave their mark, and the body will keep that score. And one of the things I found really fascinating in that book too was how the language center of the brain tends to shut off in our wiring when we are re-experiencing painful memories of the past, which is why people that you see kind of struggling with painful old memories or PTSD, they often don't have words for anything. It's like disembodied terror, disembodied images, like visual stimuli, sounds, kind of everything is disembodied and removed from its original context in a way that is just very frightening. And because it's disembodied and so incorporeal and so ghost-like, it seems like it could haunt you from wherever and whenever. You know, thoughts are just, they're just phantoms. They can assault you at any angle, however they come in, you know. So that was a big influence in the scenarios of Chris and Jill in this story. There are many other influences. Obviously, William Blake is one. Blake has his, I think maybe more than one example of the Oedipal conflict, of the father-son sort of hostility and competition conflict. The one that I focused on as sort of an inspiration for this story, because I was studying it pretty intensely in books on Blake, was that of Los and Orc. And those are two life forces in Blake's mythology. And his mythology has these 4 different sort of zoas or life forces. And those two represent imagination and love. Orc is love, but he's binded, fallen love when love has been spoiled. So the whole clash between Chris and Vaughn there is largely inspired by that hostility of Los wanting to bind away that love. And Los in his enlightened form is named Urthona. So you could put that together with the rest of the story and the documents that you see. It's a project that is intended to bind love by exposing and eradicate those who exhibit it. That is the whole meaning behind what Albert is doing in this story. So I wanted to talk about it. So those are some of the kind of influences and inspirations that went into a lot of the story. There were some films as well. The Usual Suspects helped a little bit with some of the scene writing. It's a very, very, very highly regarded film by many, and in my eyes, definitely love that movie. Just amazing film. There were some esoteric influences, or a couple of books I read on the history of the Aztecs and Mixtec peoples in northern and sort of desert regions of Mexico, and their history. Obviously, that went into the town, folkloric influences into the town. So yeah, those are some of those. I don't want to talk about everything, give everything away, but that's like a lot of what's at the core. And that was kind of like every single step of the way. That's like writing, right? That's like the ideas. That's how the story came about. Eventually, like I was saying, there came a point where it became so large and it became so elaborate, and there was so much dialogue, like so much talking and exploring of what characters are doing and what they're getting into, that things needed to be slimmed down, and we needed to work with Andrew and our team to kind of like make things shorter and smaller. And the big problem that we're running into, that we were worried about running into, was time to actually shoot all of the scenes that were in that original large script in September, which was maybe like the 7th or 8th draft total, because the first one was started in December of 2023 and then finished in March of 2024. Several drafts later, early September of 2024, there was this draft that was just kind of massive, and that's the one that we kind of slimmed down from, made some a little bit of consolidations. And by the way, if you want to, for anyone that got the Novella award, you will see a lot of what those consolidations were in full, because you'll see the fullest version of the story. I'm currently writing that right now, so I'm very busy with that as well during all of this post-production cycle. But yeah, and then we took some things away and then we put some things back. We actually put a lot of things back, which I was just absolutely enamored with, because I'm like, there's this lost love of these things that like have to be taken out of your story and your world, and now it's like a lot of these can be salvaged, and a lot of them made it into the final cut, which people are watching. So that was just like my pride and joy, that script and the novella that's being written. Like they're just moments of discovery, essentially, about like the certain truths of human nature. That's like a lot of what these stories are. They're like certain fundamental underlying truths of the human experience. When you encounter those in a story, I think that there's just a much higher potential for people to take meaning from it and relate to it and see it more than something simple or schlocky or something that can be easily reduced, you know? So yeah, that's a lot with the writing. Very, very, definitely like the most painful and rewarding at the same time process of writing over and over and over and over again and scrapping things, and every time going through the script again and like changing things and like, oh, you know, we probably can't have this, or this would cost too much money, or this is like, maybe this isn't like, the scene is like not working well enough, this needs to be changed or needs to be improved. Every time it's kind of like peeling open the wounds of like, this is what like my mind had like, you know, kind of wanted to do. And now it's going to need to be changed, which is what happens. From what I understand, like at the end, there were more than 25 drafts total written by me. And what I understand is that that's kind of standard for a lot of like films that get made in the industry. Indie, I'm not sure if this is true, but like in the industry and like through big studios go through like 20, 25 drafts to really, really spruce things up and make things flow better and just connect better, you know, just be more coherent. It takes a lot of time for everything to be like really coherent and land well and be evocative, right? As lines that they are, and have a little bit more lore through files and imagery for people to explore. A lot of that took quite a bit of time for me to not only develop initially, but then also sort of further develop into something that could be shown on screen in a way that makes sense. And if people like pause the YouTube video of the film, they could like really read and see what's going on and what the people that are in on this Rosa and Firma project are planning to do with it, with the particular name of that project. That's a lot to kind of put together and have people be able to witness and make sense of when they stop that and they read it and they look at it. But yes, so that was a lot of it on the writing side. Now I want to talk about producing, because that was like my other major task. I was the main producer on this project that wasn't Andrew. So like we were tag teaming every step of the way, everything logistically. We had to put an order, a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of like, honestly, kind of like revealing things about like how much people are willing to do things. Like, for example, when you want to secure a location, and for me, it's like, it means everything to secure the location. I'm like making the call. I'm like, hey, we found that you own this property. Can we use this property to film at? And for me, it means the world. Everything depends on it. For the person we're calling, as you can imagine, if I were on the other side of things, I would probably be no different. It's not so important. It's not so important. You know, they don't have that emotional engagement and attachment to the story that they're trying to bring to the screen. They're just like, yeah, like, what do you want to do? Like, hopefully you don't mess it up, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully, you know, like, you must have all the permits and the legal paperwork in order to film here, that kind of thing, which I spent so much time on as a producer. Like, it was like just backbreaking work on some days. Like, a lot of it took months at a time to get legal permits for and have all the paperwork in order. But one of the examples, one of the like really critical examples that was just like kind of like really testing me was we had lost a certain location a couple of times for the final battle sequence between Alpha Team and Albert and Albert's advanced Corazora carriers. And we had lost that a couple times, and it had kind of been replaced and then needed to be replaced again. So it was strange because like the original owner of the property that we were going to use for it, you know, Andrew had a connection with him. We were going to use it. That fell through. And then we were looking for a different place, ended up calling a couple guys that owned like this kind of mine pit area stretch of land for their own sort of landscaping and other types of businesses. And eventually I was doing calls with him for like months. Like I was just calling him over and over and over again. And some people don't take, understandably, you know, like I might not either if I didn't have that sort of motivation to do such a thing. So some things are much easier to nail down than others. Sometimes nailing down a location or a cast member or a legal permit or something like that will take one phone call or like just a couple of emails. And sometimes it'll take like 60. And this was like very much the latter. And every time I called, it was like this person didn't have any desire to move us forward, like move us towards the goal of using that location. Eventually, we found that he owned like part of the land, but not entirely. So he wasn't even like the owner of what we wanted. And that was just so frustrating of like how there's just the communication constantly between me and Andrew and trying to lock down this location for like months at a time as a backup, or not even a backup at that point, as a backfill, like a replacement location, because the first one was just lost, was really annoying. Like that was essentially, it wasn't completely wasted because we understood who the real owner of the land was. And it was the government. It was basically Bureau of Land Management. And through there, I had to go through this really, really extensive process, submitting all sorts of paperwork into this government site. Hey, you know, what is the risk that your film sort of production is going to pose on this land? And like, what are you going to do in this situation? Do you have a fire prevention plan? Can you write it like the entire thing? Can you write this and like give to us? Can you have like your mineral resource people there and reviewing all of our documents and waiting, going back and forth, like spend like 100 emails to film on this small strip of land for 2 nights, like just 2 nights. And we only had for that last location that we used, that the final one that we used that was owned by the government, we only had 8 days to secure it, because we learned that the person who we thought owned the land that we wanted didn't own the land that we wanted, and instead it was government owned. We only learned that 8 days before we began production at that location, and that was on the night of August 19th and 20th. It's like burned into my memory. Like I can't even like ever forget. I feel like the production dates of this thing, like every day is all the 13 days. I remember like exactly what happened because my mind had been going through it like hundreds of times for months in advance, what would happen at every single day and how time would be blocked off. And Anthony helped with that a lot as a first assistant director, and he put out like really detailed sheets for us to use. We had our initial call sheets that Andrew and I had made, and then Anthony made like really detailed ones of like, where is this FX person needed? Where is makeup needed? Where is, you know, when is catering going to get here? Who is in charge of this? Who's going to keep this moving? Who's going to do this effect? Who's going to do this like fight or stunt or whatever? So he was a huge help there. But yeah, it was, so the leading up to that night, the 19th, that day that we're going to shoot the final battle, the 19th, the 20th, those nights, I had just been like doing an absolutely insurmountable amount of work of just like I was already booking everyone's flight and everyone's hotel, and this was like there were like 30 flights of people coming in and out, and some of them were coming from Australia, Canada, like all over, like so much to coordinate in terms of producing, ramping up to the production cycle in August. All of the 2 years of pre-prod work too were really hard, and they were like I had described, like a million phone calls, so many emails, all of this, all of that. Can we find a makeup person? Oh, this person, is not available anymore. Can we find a new one? Can we find a person to do catering? Which also switched around and ended up costing more money than we anticipated. All of these surprises and things that had to stay on top of. Can we secure this location? Can we get the tunnels? Can we get this cabin? Can you talk to this landowner and convince them that we'll be quiet and in and out and won't make a mess? Like every single location and every single cast member, every single part of transportation, rent these trucks, etc. Like all of that was just like really just like me and Andrew. Like it was just the amount that we had to keep a mental tally on, mental tab on, and it's just hundreds of emails and phone calls. And so with that specific location, it was like back and forth about all of that with a government person up until the day that we needed it. And only I was like, hey, we need this by the 19th. Like we need permits. And she and keep in mind, I had gone through the process to get permits for a different location, also in Utah, in a different city. It took months. And so many different forms again, and paperwork needed to be filled out. And we got it through me just communicating back and forth, and Andrew getting on board and helping out. And eventually we signed the documents and we got the permit. Now this one we had 8 days, not months. We had 8 days to get this location. We got it on the day that we needed it, and we got that representative. She was amazing, by the way. Like she moved things faster than I've ever seen things move. Granted, I've only had any frame of reference of how quickly or slowly these things might move from this production cycle, because it's the first time that I've seen it. First time I've been trying to get like government permits for film and that kind of thing. So, but yes, it was nuts. The amount that we had to do in 8 days to get that in order, while booking every flight and every hotel, which was really stressful because one of the flights, multiple of them had small delays, and that was okay. Everyone was arriving like a day before they had to be on set. Not a big deal. Everyone still arrived well in time to be exactly where we needed them when we needed them, which is amazing. Like there were so many people that like on-site cast and crew was like, I don't know, like 80 to 100 people, like across the entire 13 days. It's a huge number of people that needed to be there, and all of them were there. Like none of the cast or crew really like bailed or weren't able to make it. There was one extra that wasn't able to make it because of a flight issue. And that was like the most minimal amount of kind of loss to the production than it would have been any other cast member, right? Or really any other crew member. We needed everyone. But yes, it's just so one of the cast members, amazing, absolutely critical to the production, performed incredibly. Like we were all impressed. Their airline had a strike in like a few in the tiny time span between booking their ticket and their flight actually taking place. They had an airline strike for that entire airline. We had to book their flight via a different airline. Thankfully, they had one that not only got him where he needed to be when he needed to be there, but also was minimizing the number of work days that he needed to miss to be here, so that he could actually make it work with his profession. And I'm so thankful that we were able to get him there and that he was able to just kick ass on set, because he was amazing. Because it's difficult. It's sometimes if you don't know if a cast member is actually going to be able to physically be there, you need to start looking at others. And we did. We had others audition, looked all around on Backstage. We looked into these different sites, get folks to submit their tapes, and some of them are really solid, some of them are really seasoned, but they just weren't him. They just weren't precisely this person. And it was like, we need to make this person get the off days from work. It's like we're kind of not arguing, but we're kind of pestering and going back and forth of like, can he have another day or two, please, off to travel and like be part of this momentous thing? Like it's just like, it's like a week. Like he really needs to be in a different country for this week, in this state in particular for this week. Like, thankfully we got it, and this stupid airline strike didn't ruin anything. And we were able to essentially still have him be exactly where he needed to be by booking through the different airline, because the different airline basically saved us, and they had one flight that was perfect to get him there in the days that he was able to take off. But yeah, just all of those things with producing. None of really what I've talked about so far has even been crowdfunding stress. Like all of that is just like logistics, putting the locations in order, getting the legal permits. None of it has been about insurance either. I've spent like 200 emails back and forth to get insurance for not just the main shoot, which was definitely like the most complex and needed the most amount of communication to get back and forth about, accounting for everything, accounting for the vehicles, accounting for the animal involved. There's a horse here, you know, premiums higher, you know, that's how it goes. But we actually had an amazing agent, guided us through everything very, very well, and very timely. We needed some things on a very, very time sensitive basis, and they were able to help us very much. So that was its own thing that I was really just very, very single-handedly dealing with, like insurance, just like hundreds of things, like even for post-credit shoots, post-credit scenes, even for things that were shot in like a different location, different area, needed individual additional insurance policies. Even for the private screening needed insurance. So these are all things that, like, you know, if you're new to the industry, or if you haven't produced things in a larger capacity, haven't really set things in order, or been a production coordinator or a line producer, it's new. And just understanding basic things, you know, understanding basic general liability, even though it's just a Vegas screening, having, you know, a couple hundred people here, it's things can go awry, and, you know, basic coverage for that, going back and forth. Yeah, it's just one of the points I think I had asked Andrew, because Andrew is more familiar with the industry, and he's more of like, he studied in film, he's amazing at his craft, and he has like the work ethic that is like unrivaled. Like no one meets his work ethic. Even he, you know, understanding what producers have to do. Kind of shared my sentiment when I think I said this line of like, I really don't understand why anyone would want to be a producer, like be a film producer, like not the name credit as it is in the film, but just like the actual work of being a producer, and like putting everything in order logistically and financially. That's how I would define it. It's like, if you're one of the people that puts everything in order logistically and financially, you're probably a producer. It's like, I don't understand why people do. I understand this is a non-for-profit film, and that if people did it for money, sure, then the obvious incentive to do it for money is you get money, right? But it's insane. However, I do now understand, like that is maybe the most stressful position that there ever was, as producer, because you need everything to fall in line. Like you need all of the stars to align. No one's flight, no one's shuttle ride can be delayed or missed or this or that. Everyone has to be safe. Everyone has to be hydrated. Everyone needs to be well fed. You know, how much you're going to spend on food and stuff. It's the a huge beast, like a huge, like hidden kind of, I don't want to say hidden boss, but it's like looking from the outside in before this experience, I had no idea what the term producer really meant. It seemed so generic and so overused that I was having difficulty understanding it. And then like once you start to really understand, there's like many different types of it. You know, there's commercial producers, there's executive producers, line producers. Incredible what they have all done to financially support our film and spread our film, help it with funding, you know. But then it's like the producers who are responsible for the logistic stuff, running everything, along with, you know, Anthony, assistant director, running everything, like another very, very stressful position. It's just nuts. Very eye-opening experience about like what exists there, what people do in film when they are the producer. Like it makes sense what they do, and it does kind of, it is starting slightly kind of like marginally to make sense to me why someone would take pride in being a producer, like being able to put all those things in order and have them go well. Like it makes sense more so than it did, much more so than it did. And it's, there is a sense of satisfaction, and all of this kind of fell onto Andrew's shoulders and my shoulders in terms of producing, and all the crazy booking, everything logistically needs to line up, everything legally needs to line up, everything with insurance needs to line up. Like it, there is a sense of satisfaction in that, of like, hey, it fell on us because it had to fall on someone, and we made it work well, right? So I can kind of understand that and align with that. So there is a little bit about the producer end of things. Very, very, very educational experience on that entire side of filmmaking for me, is like, what is a producer? And full disclosure too, like I've told Andrew this as well, having, despite what I just said, having understood what all goes into producing a film, I don't think I could produce a film ever again if I, one, didn't write the story, or two, didn't absolutely love the story. And both of those things together would be awesome. But if it was like one or the others, you know, I will need, actually the two is a necessity. I need to love it no matter what it is, whether it's mine or not. But that's the thing, is like sometimes like my attachment to the story grew tremendously beyond preventing me from taking on these prolonged stresses. Like we're doing all of it. Andrew's doing all of this, and I'm doing all of this while working full-time jobs, like during the day. So it's like day and night, like meetings, emails, phone calls. This person has a problem. This person needs me to be their mom, because it's difficult to communicate everything sometimes. We did a good job, but still, you see, like I'll send something out, and I'll send out some transportation schedule. I'll send out something for the 2 weeks that we're shooting, and folks will not read it. They'll misread it. They'll misunderstand. It happens. So like creating good visuals to show to people that like, hey, look at this here. Like this is important. Be here at this time. Leave at this time. Pick up this person at this time. Like all of that. That's really important. So like just that communication aspect of it is really hard. But yeah, it's the thing of like the reason why I'm willing to put up with those stresses completely unpaid, and just, you know, offering all of the mental and physical energy that I have to give and more, and Andrew is doing the same, is because we love this. Like we love this story. We love this opportunity, and it may never ever happen again. not in this capacity, not in the way that it happened. It's literally like aligning the stars. Like, watch the film, some of the things that we got to go down with this animal stuff, this fight stuff, this stunt stuff, like, it's insane. Like, who we had available to do their work, it's nuts, right? They smashed it. Like, this, we love it, especially. Now, I love it because it's my story and I have that bias. I have that like implicit deep level of personal connection of like, there's so much here that like I just adore, and it will be like an immortalized thing in my brain that this exists now. And it's a world that I had been inhabiting while writing all of the scripts, the many scripts during pre-production, but now it's a world that other people can be invited to and inhabit too, right? So that's amazing. It was already special to me as a script, but now on the screen, it's like almost like overwhelmingly special. And it was like I could almost feel myself being overwhelmed at the Vegas premiere while watching it. Like, I was just physically just taken by storm. Like, I felt like I was like kind of almost like short on breath a little bit because of the gathering of folks and the effect of taking in all the visuals and the audio in a theater with that story that now exists on the screen, you know, in a more visual medium than just on the page. So, but yeah, and that's another thing. Like, Andrew and I, like, we love this so much too because there are so many different types of specialists on this project. There's so many different types of experts. We have a snake wrangler, we have a horse wrangler, we have people with professional stunt experience and backing and fighting experience. We have people with firearms expertise, we have an armorer, we have a medic, we have like professional makeup people who've done stuff in the industry. We have like every type of expert you could dream of that we needed. And to put them, it took so many meetings and so much preparation from Andrew and myself to like put them all in order to do what they needed to do. And it was so worth it. Like, they were, let me tell you the story of how I found the snake wrangler. Like, because I'm also the person that for the Keeper's Diary, I was scrambling around to find a pig for the scene with a hunter, right? And eventually I found one, and it was like calling this farm. I'm like, hey, we're filming this thing and we see that you guys have pigs on your farm. Do you have any that would be suitable for this purpose, you know? And there was a guy who I eventually found after like 4 or 5 phone calls. Again, that was like a very short story of producing something, putting something into place. There were ones that took like 60 or 70 phone calls. This is like a pretty short, easy one with the pig. Snake one was way harder. I'll get to that in a moment. But he was like, just to give you some context, like, he was like, we need to use a size of pig that is not going to disrupt the set or like destroy the whole thing, because they grow like not exponentially fast, but they multiply like in their weight and their size. So they can be very devastating to the set around it. They could destroy the whole thing if you bring in a big one. So we had to bring in one of the, not babies, but like slightly larger. And that worked for that, you know? So that was the process of finding that pig. To find the snake wrangler for this production, I had to contact like, I think a total of 5, it was 4 or 5 different businesses. And like one of them was like the Great Basin Serpentarium. Another one was this like Instagram page that like linked to a couple of different local stores. And I was calling like, hey, do you have this specific type of snake? Like, do you have this particular snake that we need, you know? And that changed too. Like in the earlier drafts, it was crazy like what I had written to be the snake that we would use, because they were like no way we would have gotten them or been able to use them. Like, they were highly venomous and scary and like massive. So we wrote it in a more creative way where it appears to be something venomous and menacing and scary, but really it was a snake that evolved to mimic snakes that are venomous and dangerous and scary. So that Baptesian, but not Baptesian, but Baptesian, I think, mimicry of having a snake evolve to mimic something that's more dangerous than it to ward off foes who would otherwise be able to take the snake pretty easily. We found one of those, and it took a while to find that too. And it was a pretty particular breed. And finally, like on the fifth try of calling all these different serpentariums and reptile shops, like, we found like the perfect person to do it, like the perfect, the specialist, the snake expert, the snake wrangler, right? And very safe snake, you know, really it's a great pet snake. For trivia, it's a Sinaloan milk snake. That's what it actually is. So and very fitting, you know, it's an area in Mexico, Sinaloan milk snake. And so he was able to get everything in order. He explained everything. So what we went back and forth with him as well. Like I finally found him, and like I had been bugging this guy on his Instagram page and on Facebook for I think like a couple months before I got any reply. Very nice guy though, very busy with what he does, but he sent me over like information like I have a friend that can maybe help you with this production kind of thing, and like offer a snake and like maybe like a terrarium for it and that kind of thing. And that is when I got hooked up to our snake wrangler, Mike. So, but yeah, that was a wild experience. I'm so happy that we found someone, because I think the inherent sort of allure of Resident Evil with kind of like anthropomorphizing animals and like making them seem like more likenable to like what people are and like how they are, like is kind of like really big in Resident Evil. And I've always liked that, like Alexia, for example, the queen ant, and someone feeling like an elitism and needing to be served as the ruler over these mere peasants. She's like the queen of her colony, so that kind of sense of superiority or wanting to basically be the elite ruling over some lesser class, and she's the elite because she's chosen genetically, you know, through science. So all of that is really big in Resident Evil, and that's also a big influence on Albert in Resurrection, as well as the King Kurosawa and the mythology around the big snake that people had been able to sense through heat signatures and taken in as their sort of deity. Like all of that went together, and to find one that wasn't a 1 in a million chance mutation of becoming massive, and just one that was like a regular Kurosawa, which is what the Sinaloan milk snake is, or vice versa. The Kurosawa is a Sinaloan milk snake in real life. But in the story, you know, it has this parasite that deposits parasitic offspring into its venom glands, and then when it bites people, it transmits the little parasitic offspring, and that is what basically latches on to the hearts of human hosts and triggers that infection. If they respond, if they release oxytocin and they have that sort of social attachment and love, if they exhibit that, then that is what will basically catalyze. So that's how that worked. But in real life, it's this cute like pet Sinaloan milk snake, very well trained to like look at Annie as Jill and Linda as Rebecca as they look at the snake. It like meets them in the eyes. It's like amazing. And that, like, you know, she needed to be trained for months to behave that way in the specific lighting that we had in the set that Andrew was building in Utah. So that was all like something very kind of like meticulously planned and very masterfully kind of arranged and directed by the Snake Wrangler. So that's just like one tiny story of like how deep and how far we have to go for one tiny piece of the film, which ultimately is not a tiny piece of the film. It's a massive part of the film. These Kurosawa snakes that were essentially retrieved from the area by one of the corrupt BCI troops, brought to Rebecca to examine. And then it's like there's this whole slew of lies and deceit that kind of ensue from there. in order to conceal its true value from the corrupt BCI. So it's a huge part of the town of Rosa and Firma and the story at large. So, but it's like, that's just to give you an example, like how far someone would go to get like a real snake. And we were talking with him, we were talking with the Wrangler about like how a lot of films nowadays, it's not so common to see like actual real practical use of snakes in the films. It's like very, very often CG. So having that be a part of it is very special. Having the horse be a part of it is very special. Again, another specialist, another person that kind of was local, and had some land with some horses. So like it's just amazing, everything that goes together and all the specialists here. So there's no way that we really, anyone could see it to the end of something that is completely non-for-profit, working just hellish hours on things, with all of these different setbacks along the way, and seeing it through to the end if we didn't love it, you know, like it's tremendous how much that irrational sort of desire to see something through can carry you through so much, like so much heartache and so much stress on the body and mind. So, but yes, that is kind of like the timeline. So I've talked about the writing part of it, the inspirations, the producing part of it, all the logistical stuff, financial stuff. Talk about funding a little bit. I've already sort of given a lot about crowdfunding and what an amazing ride it has been with this community through our Indiegogo updates and through our streams. If you want to watch our streams, you can kind of see the story of like on Row YouTube in the final month, especially if you watch June 2025, that's around when we were like really boosting off with the help of so many generous, loving people who gave to this project. You know, like they put into a project so much of their own hard-earned cash that like a project that like it's essentially like an idea of something that will exist. You know, that's why like it's amazing how much crowdfunding backers like really do believe in us, because it's like it doesn't exist yet. You know, like we all we had was a concept trailer with animatics, beautifully drawn by Baz and edited together by Andrew and written by me, right? But we didn't have a live action trailer. We only had a live action kind of concept video or rather a live action OG cast kind of presentation and video of what the project is. So it's incredible how someone would put so much faith into a team where many of us are kind of like new. Andrew's made a few films before, but like I haven't written for screen ever. Like I have no credentials. So for them to believe in me, that's amazing. For them to believe in all of the OG cast to like really push through to the end and deliver their performances and be there for every part of it is amazing. And they did. And it was an extremely difficult goal. I've talked about this before on other podcasts. I talked about this on El Joe. Shout out to his channel. But it was kind of a thing of like every single morning, it was like, wake up, how can I raise like $3,000? Like today, right now, like immediately this second, because it was kind of like if you go linearly to win that goal, that crowdfunding goal, you have to raise like 3.3 thousand every single day. You can't even get someone to drop something as massive as like an associate producer perk for like $2,500 and meet your goal for that day with that. You need more than that. Like it's incredible the amount of stress created by a goal that's at large. But like everything before it, like the 2 years of pre-prod before it, writing over and over again, legal stuff, insurance stuff, snake stuff, casting stuff, like everything before it, it was like we grinded through that just as hard. Like I wrote social media posts for every single day of those 2 months to go out on across a Biohazard Story socials and Row, and Andrew had the media for it. So he would take what I had written and then he would put like the either the reel or the photo that he had taken of the cast member and like the stuff that we were doing with it. And that was like a big thing. But really once I think like the streams and like the second month of like the momentum of people really seeing like, okay, if we could raise like $100,000, like, you know, like who's to say we can't like do it again before this thing is over. But just like a massive thank you. And this is like another part of the video that I wanted to kind of go into, is that like why it's so meaningful at this moment in time for us to have been able to create something at this scope exactly how we wanted, with this amount of funding, with so many passionate, wonderful, generous people behind it, which is kind of like the later part of this very long rambly video. And that is like, it's a few things, and this also kind of goes into a big part of like why I push so hard for this project is it's as if like the current day, it's like a perception, but it's also a reality for some people. It's just that they feel as if like truly creative opportunities are scarce and they're far and few between, and they're maybe available for people who are like very, very established or like well-known actors, well-known this and that, you know. But for like people that want to get into it, you know, people that are new, that want to they want to hone their craft and they want to, you know, rise in their own competence, and they want to create something significant and special and big and original. There's not a lot of room for them. And I don't say that like in regard to specifically like, I know there's like more resources than ever today to do these kinds of creative things, and that's amazing. Like that's part of the reason why we're able to pick up so many of these skills so fast and do everything that we did. However, it's like how decisions are made in the industry may not allow people to actually, I guess, kind of express themselves as actors or storyboard artists or concept artists in a way that is beyond like kind of here and there projects, you know, like what have you, commercials, whatever, sorts of advertisements, maybe shorts, maybe like small films and such. But what if we did something like big and significant that could like show people the power of indie filmmaking when people are like really, really, really hell-bent on getting their vision to the screen in like a little larger capacity? Like what if we could do that and involve the people that have been wanting to be involved in the ways that they have wanted to be involved for a long time, you know? It's just, what if you offer that opportunity for people? You know, what if our YouTube thing didn't always have to be us like critiquing other media and analyzing other media and dissecting other media? What if it was like we created an environment where everyone could be a part of something massive and substantial and large and really express themselves, you know? Like what if we could like get the community involved? And that's like one of the biggest parts. It's one of the biggest advantages, I think, to having done it this way, is that so many of the folks in the RE community are literally in this film as their own characters, as extras, as people that are parts of the world building, what have you, and have etched their names into it as backers. Like there's an opportunity not just for us, the creators or the YouTubers or whatever, to like kind of benefit and like by taking some existing media and making a critique on it, like we always do. You know, we just did a podcast on Requiem. I've been making 2 analysis videos on it, but there's nothing like creating something so original and transformative and powerful, and that kind of celebrates the value of legacy in this way. It's like a different kind of undertaking, and it's huge, and it's really, really, really hard. It's harder than like anything that than a lot of us have done before, because it requires so many different types of skills and flexibility. But it's just the reward of it is like no other. You know, it's truly one of a kind. It's like in a time, in a culture where it's become so profitable to, and it's become so sort of democratized to make traditional style YouTube content or other sorts of podcasts, those kind of things. I love all of those things. Don't get me wrong. It just makes you want to do something different. You know, it makes you want to try something else. And this was that something, you know, and it really all stemmed from Andrew. It really all stemmed from Andrew being daring enough as he is to seek out all of these legacy talent, make connections with us, insisting that this would be worth it, and then getting people on board to insist the same thing, like me, you know. So it's just amazing. It's just amazing, and I know some of you who are like watching this personal channel had been waiting for certain things, had been commenting like, "Are you still going to do this? When is this coming out?" I hope it at least makes a little bit more sense why I've been just absent. And sometimes like I feel like I might be more that way in the future. Fortunately or unfortunately, like I might take on more big projects if there's an opportunity, or if I the ones that I wanted to delve into, because I knew at the beginning of Resurrection that I wanted to write something big before I was asked to be a part of the project. I knew about that project. Like I wanted to finish writing the book I'd been writing and publish it, that kind of thing. So if there's more opportunities for books or for films like this, then I do see myself doing that a lot. And so I don't know if there's going to be a lot here, but I do like to put out like a little kind of time capsule or whatever. And this is March 21st when I'm recording this, which is the day before Resurrection's releasing. And I'll probably release it on the 22nd or sometime after. But it is good to just kind of keep this moment in time somewhere and reflect on it. So it like makes sense to me and you, basically. But yes, that is kind of a recap of that. One other thing that I wanted to talk about, of like, where was the drive to, okay, so one of the things that I mentioned was kind of scarcity. We'll just call it scarcity. Scarcity of like true creative opportunities that are like a little bit like larger scale, higher up than like something on that is like anyone could do, like make a video like this, but aren't like so high that like they're like unattainable, like something that's like a solid entry point, like gives people a chance to express themselves, and trying to create something in that scarcity. Also, from a more selfish angle, scarcity for me is kind of like, there were a few things that I just didn't know, of like, if I put this much time and effort into something and it doesn't pan out, like there's a sense of like, I might never get anything like this again. Everything's already so scarce as it is, kind of like that kind of selfish, fearful thinking. Thinking that there is nothing else, like this needs to be done, it has to be this. That was part of it too. And all of it I think was really amplified by, and this isn't, I don't know if this is something we like really talk about again, but I do want to talk about like right now, is all of it was that kind of sense of scarcity and feeling of wanting to do this in this time, was amplified by just garbage on the internet, like AI stuff and fakeness and things that are just representative of not a desire to express or create something, but to have something created, which there's a big difference. You know, it's like, if you want to write a book, for example, then you should be writing the book. And if you want a book written, then why don't you just use AI? You know, like if your goal is to have that result, then then now there is now a means to get it in a matter of, I don't know how long. I haven't tried. It's like new levels of like creative degeneracy in a sense of kind of masquerading as folks that like really want to create or express something, but really you just want to be attached to the idea of it having been written and then reap whatever reward. It's just very parasitic and strange. And that's why it's just very bizarre. It's kind of like if you were to ask me to write something, and then I wrote it for you, and then you put your name on it, you know, it's the same thing. It's like people, they feel better not crediting AI because it's a machine, but it's the same thing. It's just be careful what you outsource to other entities. Like, don't outsource something if you want it to actually have you in it and have you have creative input. You know, if you don't want to offer that creative input, then you should just be using AI. If you don't want to make the creative decisions, you should just be using AI. And if you this is not meant to encourage anyone to use it, by the way, but you should be. If you don't want to do any of those things, then you should just be using it because it's here. And then the last part of it is kind of, how do I want to say this? It's like, think about this for a second. Yeah, this is how I want to say it. So if you don't want to introduce anything new creatively in a work that you're doing, but you want a creative work made, you should just use AI, because AI is by definition an amalgamation of all of the means of storytelling and the means of human input and data. So if you want something that is average, that you know has been evidenced to be successful in the market or work in the market, you should just use AI. That's what it is. If you want the averages, if you don't want to think about what it is, if you just want people to like it, and you want people to like that you asked some other entity to to make something that you didn't make, but maybe asked it to make very loosely, then you should just use AI. That's for people who have those desires. It's like any other cheap substitute. It's like any other artificial shortcut, right? So it's, if you want the averages, if you just want people to like something, if you just want people to like what has already been evidenced in the market, and you just want to create what's been evidenced in the market, you should just use AI because it's an average of all those things. So by saying that, it's just, like the desire to create a big story like this, the desire to create something novel and authentic and introduce it into the world should be to make people think about either something familiar from a new perspective, an angle that they never saw it from before, or, you know, just has some element of novelty. It's always a clash and a balancing act between novelty and familiarity. But with AI, it's familiarity and familiarity ad infinitum. It's familiar, it's derivative, it's the same, it's the average, and it's the means. It's everything that you've seen. And if you don't care about, if all you care about is the views or people's like taking it in, you know, like if they're gonna like it or not, you should just use AI, which again has its own drawback too. Even if you want the popular idea or the popular story, is still not necessarily to your advantage, because people get tired of the same stuff. People see stuff over and over again, and they wonder, where is the novelty? Where is the risk taking, right? So not even saying that that would benefit you, but if your goal is to do that and to take the averages and make an average story because you're afraid that people won't like anything that you would actually come up with, you should just use AI. So that's the way that I've thought about it. And I think to offer people an opportunity to really be part of something large, just massive, that is completely 100% zero usage of AI, made with zero use of AI, like any of the artists' input on it. This was it. Resurrection was it. You know, people, the usage of AI is not so black and white to me. It's the circumstance does matter. There are times when it's like, okay, you want to summarize something, or like summarize a meeting, or like whatever have you, or if you want to like spruce up an image, like maybe it depends what you're doing. But like I know some people criticize that about Row Network, right? Because when we post thumbnails, you know, a lot of them don't have any usage of AI whatsoever. It's just JJ photoshopping something in a way that is better than most people would recognize as just regular photoshopping. It's just that. But when it is, it's just little sprucing on little details. However, when you make that criticism, realize that this one project, just Resurrection of Biohazard Story, just one film, a fan film, an unofficial continuation of Resident Evil set a few months after Village in 2021, just this one time, we have given, like, I can't even tell you how much money to all sorts of different artists to make this, like thousands upon thousands upon thousands, with just one job. That's more than 99% of people will ever pay an artist in their life. I think that's important. That's not boasting. That's not saying like, look at how much we're giving to, you know. It's just, if you're going to criticize our usage of something and not understand how much we absolutely love and cherish and value our human artists, then you're speaking out of context. You're speaking ignorantly. You don't know how much we've given to all of these folks. We have Baz on storyboarding. We have Chick with these amazing paintings and all of the concept art. We have our sound recorder. We have our sound mixer, Toivo. We have our color grader. We have our cinematographer. We have all of these different folks independently contracted to do what they love to do. And we're able to provide work for them in this non-for-profit basis, right? That's amazing. That's amazing. That's something that so few videos or films or creators can offer to these artists in each of their own very highly individual trades, highly specialized fields. And it's just incredible how much we're able to offer on that end. A lot of indie folks in acting, a lot of folks just looking for something to do, looking for work, looking to express themselves and get their fee for what they signed up to do. You know, it's the amount of opportunity provided is just, it's insane. So I just wanted to put that out there, is that like, when people don't understand the amount that we give to human artists, it's really clear. Like if you knew the real story, you would understand it. You would understand how much we love them and how much we'll give to them to make something like this. Look at the art in this film. Now look at every part of it. Look at the audio mixing, look at the color grading, look at the cinematography, look at the paintings, the animatic storyboard stuff, that the concept trailer that we put out that Baz had painstakingly drawn based on my scripts. Look at all that, you know, like look at all that. That doesn't come from AI. That comes from huge numbers of just a huge nice variety of specialized talented people. That's what it is. You know, it's even 3D printing, even having snake pendants, even having you know, artificial roses or what have you. Like every aspect of it that could have been real is as real as it could be, and every aspect of the art is comprised of authentic human input. So I just think that's really important. And that's also part of the drive for me, is that like when I look at AI and I look at what it can do, it's sometimes it's like it could seem threatening, or it could seem like the death of aspiration. Like people shouldn't aspire to be an artist. People shouldn't aspire to be a writer. This machine can do it, right? However, like I said before, if you had nothing to contribute except the averages of everything that has been done, that's the only reason you should be afraid. You know, like if you have something truly novel and unique to offer here, AI would never have the will to think to do that. It would never think to be commissioned something so insanely specific. This is a very specific story. What it's trying to tell, the science behind it, what's going on with these factions, the inspirations, the imagery, the visual metaphors. The region takes place, the esoteric sort of stuff behind it, the mythology. It's like, how would you find someone to commission a project that was so particular in what it was trying to do that it would give you this as its output? You know, it's impossible. You would need the person to just do it. It's so individualized in what it's trying to do. It's that I think that is really like, for the folks that feel threatened or intimidated, I think that is like really the saving grace, is understanding how bad it is as taking someone's will and making it unique. Which is why you should keep your will to yourself and just do it, by the way. Because if it wasn't really yours, and if it was maybe you're outsourcing it to this machine, then it's already cluttering and diluting what the creative gaps that you were going to have to fulfill and fill in. It's just gonna mechanize those. It'll do those for you. If you were never relying on it to do that, you'll arrive on it yourself, and you'll fill them in uniquely as you will have. So it's truly like AI is like a great amplifier of how we are, of the type of person that uses it. Like if someone is lazy and outsources their thinking for everything to it, then the person will simply get lazier, right? If someone is an over researcher when writing and they want to know every last detail of how this mechanism in the human body works, or how this parasitic agent or this viral agent works, they'll become more of an over researcher, because it'll feed that and be like, do you want me to also tell you about this? Do you want me to also tell you about this? Right? So it amplifies in that way. So one great incentive not to touch it at all is that all of the tools to do what you're trying to do already exist without it. You know, for example, Google responds with an AI now. However, Google was the only research medium that anyone really ever needed. It doesn't have all of the information, doesn't have the best information, because now we have to discern what information is actually significant when we're inundated with swaths of it, like all the time. But they're there, and it leads us to those sources. So it doesn't really offer much in the way of anything that we haven't been able to do. One really funny thing, to test it, I wanted to see how good it would be at creating like a transportation schedule for drivers for the set, and people flying in from the airport, landing, getting on a shuttle, going to their hotel, and then when they're done, being picked up by one of the transport drivers, then taken back to the airport, and then flying back. When I did that and I entered some names, like these are the dates and these are the times, of course, like many of you have heard of, it started making up nonsense. It started making up people. And I'm like, who is Joan? And who is this other person? Like who's like Tyler? Like who are these people? You know, it's just, when you have thousands and when you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the line, you can't outsource that. You can't take the risk of outsourcing that to an entity that even has the slightest chance of making a stupidly astronomical mistake. You know, it's one error like that, you know, booking any one of those things, flights, hotels, shuttles, transport schedules, anything like that, is going to cost you massively, you know? And so it's just, like in my experience that way, it's a very overrated technology. It's not really giving you what you want unless you fact check it every step of the way. But even when you fact check it out of the way, every step of the way, you don't know when the next time that's going to be, and you don't know if you're going to have time. You know, if you could be your own counter of that, or assign a person to be in charge of that, that will eliminate so many of the issues that could potentially arise from blatant hallucination and making up nonsense that it does. So it's just, that is kind of one thing that was going in my mind of, so all of that together to kind of round this out is like sense of scarcity and true creative opportunities, and just kind of like the dominant culture not really being oriented towards that, like creating authentic original stories and involving other people, involving other actors, what have you. Especially if it's in film, because that's what film does. If you're writing a book and writing it alone, then that's one thing, that's fine. But it's kind of hard to find a lot of those opportunities for people that we have now evidenced would love to be a part of it, and some of which are just incredible at what they do. You know, acting, crew members, what have you, whatever role they're playing. Like, you'll see, it really speaks for itself. But yeah, that, and then this sense of the death of aspiration with AI, and that not really being so true, but like wanting to kind of vehemently and viciously bat back against that belief on a personal level, and to sort of show other folks too, I guess, is like another part of like my biggest reasons for this, is because when you create something that is substantial, or it has some meaning and it has some depth to it, it on its own, it speaks out against it. It speaks out against the degeneracy of, let's take the data mined averages and pump them out. Like, let's mechanize them, right? So those are kind of like two big things as well. But yes, that's pretty much it for this long rambly video. A lot of tangents, but hopefully with enough structure for anyone that's wanting to listen to it to make it. So that's kind of what's here. It's been a wonderful opportunity. It's just, yeah, it opens your eyes to what you can do and what kind of media you can offer. It doesn't just have to be the usual of what I do. It doesn't have to be an analysis video or a podcast review or something like that. It could be something totally special and involve, like, this project had like 8-9 legacy folks from the original Resident Evil games. Like, that is just like unfathomable to me. Like, so many would get together to rally behind this, and it's crazy what they've done. It's so cool how we have this celebration 30 years in this way. It's yeah, you know, like Andrew has said before, it's a project that a lot of us, having pressure put on ourselves, put on others, has like pushed some of us beyond our limits, and truly made us much more well-developed and kind of evolved creatives as we are. And we kind of see more of the process. You know, when I analyze new stories now, like let's look at Requiem, right? When I see that some aspects of it seem like they are more coherent with the entire story and make it more cohesive in some sense, and some aspects are just kind of like distracting in the way that they're told, or they're just kind of confusing, or they don't quite connect unless you like maybe try to rationalize in the game's behalf. I feel for them. Like, I understand it. Like, I understand the process of, like, these are highly collaborative projects. It's not just the writer gets to decide everything. They get to decide a lot. They get to creatively decide many things. The entire world and the existence of the framework that, like, everyone inhabits, essentially, for like a big project, like a big game or like a film or something like that. but they don't decide everything. When things need to move forward, they need to move forward. And when there are constraints, there are constraints. When there are time deadlines, there are time deadlines. When people have things that are, they seem like they've been rewritten over and over, and they seem like they've had things maybe like not really aligned in terms of tone, or like they seem like they're just from multiple people's heads and they don't like align that well. I understand it more. I have more sympathy for them, and I understand it a lot better. And you know, people cannot often be blamed for that in a creative context. It's a huge beast. It's a massive machine of like, it could be how many people would you would imagine, you know, at a massive company like that. That's just one example, you know. And with our film, it's like when things have to move on, they have to go. They have to go. Like, time and money is, you know, they aren't luxuries that we could afford with when if we miss anything, and if there are things that need to be adjusted or consolidated and what have you, executive decisions need to be made, and things need to be adjusted for things to move forward. So when I see that in other stories and it looks like this or that happened, you feel more for the writers, and you feel more for the people that like had this specific vision but it had to go in a specific direction, you know. And that's me. Like, I understand that, even having like 99% of everything that I want in the story preserved in the film itself, and then the rest of it being in the novella. For Resurrection, it's you still get it. You still completely get it. It's like people often levy and propose these rationalizations for creative decisions, but it's kind of an oxymoron in the sense that creativity is like, it's inherently like kind of opposed or antithetical to precise reasoning, you know. And reasoning is like embedded within creativity. It has its own logic, that's true. But when people ascribe certain qualities or attributes to like, oh, this decision was bad, this doesn't line up there, maybe it's just not for them. Maybe they're not understanding it in the way that it was meant to be understood. I think every story is for the people that will buy into it and love it. It's for the people that will believe it as a plausible scenario. That's like what I think every film or every story is, who they're for is for the people that they move. That's who they were meant for. And that's why they move them, right? So, and that's not to say that that's going to exonerate anyone or any creative of criticism, but that's just to sort of step back a little bit and objectively try to see like, maybe this aspect of a game or a film story doesn't work for someone because they don't know the sort of context around it or the background behind it, or they're not into that emotional tonality or specific dimension of the human experience so much as the next person, right? And maybe the next person is, and they're fully into it and they totally get it. So it's yeah, that's what it is. We all value different things when putting out our creative work. So it makes me more open and more I don't want to say tolerant, but more kind of willing to explore other creatives visions for their own scenarios than I was like before this project, I would say. So yes, there should probably be a place to end it. This is more of just like kind of a rambly, long rant, touch point in time kind of thing. But that'll be it for now. I hope you watch this film again and again. I hope you delve deeply into everything that is there and you experience it in full as many times as you want to. And there may be more projects like this soon. We'll have to see. Can't say anything for sure yet. But yeah, things like these they're rare, they're special. They could shatter at any moment. That's how I felt like when the story was what it was and it was written on the page. I was like, this could shatter at any moment. You know, I can't let it. It's like, it's literally like the most precious thing, and when every next little goal to fall in line, this actor's on board, this location's good, this snake wrangler's on board, insurance is good, these flights are good, whatever. Funding is underway, and this has proved the sort of collective generosity and love for legacy in this community, and to see them in an original project like this, like no other project has. So all of those things, you know, you gotta hit every single thing on the mark, and especially so after this setback, because it's like there's a sense that you have to catch up if you still want to meet your dates. So we'll see. And there may or may not be other stuff on this channel, but we'll have to come back to it at some later point. It's just kind of something that I wanted to throw onto here, if nothing else. So yes, Novella currently being written, and it's very exciting seeing it come together. So folks who got that perk will get that over the next couple months. The row analyses may continue, may or may not. We'll have to see. For Requiem, I think they probably will for a while. I just have to balance things with how much is going on. And then anything else additional for this channel, I'll have to see. And then maybe I'll just drop a video or put like in a community post or something. But yes, that is it. It has been like an hour and 41 minutes or so, just like in detail going on in this tangent, that tangent, but hopefully it was structured enough to listen to. But yes, that is it for now, and I will see you sometime.